Greetings all. My name is Sonia, and I think Dr. Kelvin, we should start. We are on time now. So I would like to briefly introduce you about myself. My name is Sonia, and I'm a part of Empower School of Health from last 4 years. I'm into a partnership division with this organization. And we'll just, please let me know, Dr. Kelvin, if you can see my screen.
Will do. It's visible now.
Okay. So yeah, so I really would like you all a big thank you from Empower and APN to attend today's webinar. And as you can see on this slide, the webinar today is on strengthening pharmaceutical manufacturing workforce capacity in Africa. And as I mentioned in the chat box, all of you will be receiving a certificate of participation, and the YouTube link will be posted on the YouTube channel of Empower School of Health. Also, this session is live on our Facebook page. And for any new information about Empower and our collaboration with different partners and APN, please follow us on our social media page. You can also reach out to APN Kenya. The website and email details is mentioned on the slide, and it will also be posted on the chat box. I would request Dr. Kelvin if you can put it there for people to get connected with you. Yeah, so for today webinar, the moderator for today's session, his name is Dr. Kelvin Odongo. He's a pharmacist and honorary treasurer in APN. He's a pharmacist with an immense passion for patient-centered clinical pharmacy practice, solution-oriented and open to learning new ways of doing things. Currently, he heads operations in Cliniva Healthcare Limited, which focuses on delivering affordable primary healthcare to women and families in Kenya. He has keen interest and wealth of expertise in chronic diseases management and works closely with the category of patient through patient education program. He also heads up a team of young medical professionals in patient case discussion term patient-centered care 360. Now I'll hand over the floor to Dr. Kelvin. Please take care. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sonia. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, from wherever you're joining us. I hope that you're keeping well, and welcome to today's webinar. We are really glad to have you join us. Sonia, if you could move to the next slide. I'm going to walk us very quickly through what our webinar series outline will be like today. We'll be spending time and talking about strengthening pharmaceutical manufacturing in Africa. For those of you who've joined a previous session where Empower spent a lot more time delving into the workforce in Ethiopia. And we are glad and very delighted to have a very seasoned pharmacist join us today and just give us a context of the pharmaceutical manufacturing in Africa and create a very good background upon which we can continue to build our conversation around pharmaceutical manufacturing and the workforce in Africa. So this is the outline in which we are going to do our presentation today. We will have a session where we'll allow you as the audience to be able to participate with us, right? And to be able to engage and ask questions and have those responded to by Dr. Sarah Vugigi. We'll also be engaging you and inviting you to participate in a few polls as we go along. So we'll have 2 polls for today that would actively request that you participate in and be able to give us feedback in that particular regard. As we start off very quickly, a few house rules for us as the participants. Please kindly, as you join and throughout the course of this webinar, unless invited to be able to speak, please have your mic muted and turn off your video. Please also feel free to use the chat box to ask questions, but also by using the icon, the raising of your hand icon. We will be able to see it from the back end and respond to that. Next, please, as I had mentioned, let's participate in the poll so that we also know what your keen interests are what these polls also help us do is to determine how to curate future content to be able to address specific things you've mentioned. All right. Very quickly to our speakers. As you can see on your screen, please have your videos on for better engagement. Mute your microphone when you're not speaking and adhere to the webinar scheduled timings as are previously displayed. All right, Sonia, we can proceed. So what are we seeking to understand today? And I've spoken about this already, building onto the conversation that started around pharmaceutical workforce in Ethiopia. Today, we seek to take a situational analysis of manufacturing in Africa. And our speaker today is one who's seasoned in matters regarding manufacturing, having had experience of over 20 years in the same space. And we'll spend time today and just be able to delve and unpack the whole aspect of manufacturing in Africa. At this point, I want to just very quickly welcome us to be able to participate in the first poll. So you should be able to see the poll on your screen. It's pretty much asking what your gender is, what your age is. It also is asking about what your geographical location is, where you're joining us from. I hope we can see it. So feel free to begin to respond to the poll questions. Thank you. I see our responses are already coming through. Where you work, which kind of sector are you currently engaged in? Thank you very much for your responses. I see them coming through.
Unfortunately, I can see, Dr. Kelvin, somebody has stopped it. We will again start this poll.
Yeah. All right, you can just relaunch it real quickly.
Yeah, can you please relaunch the poll back in team? I would request speakers and co-hosts, please do not touch the poll. Back in team, please relaunch the poll one again.
Thank you. All right, so the poll has been relaunched. For our speakers, do not, let's not end the poll, yeah, until we've given everybody an opportunity to participate. Thank you. I see your responses coming through. Yep. Now we are making headway, Sonia. Thank you very much, team, for your continued participation. We are at 20 of us have already put in our responses. Moving fast, we are almost at 30. Fantastic. I see we have quite a diverse regional representation, which is really good. Please keep sending in your responses. If I could just do a quick overview, even as we continue to participate. So we have individuals joining us from Africa and the Middle East. Specifically Kenya, we have 15% of us joining from Kenya. We have South Asia. We have some people joining us from the Americas, Europe, and the rest of the world as well. A representation in terms of what academic background. So a lot of us here today are pharmacy, either diploma or degree holders, and a few have pharmacy PhDs or masters. And then we have quite a few in the public health, management, engineering, logistics, and supply chain spaces. Yeah, so we are really glad that we have quite a diverse team joining us today. Representation in terms of where we currently working. So we have representations from the NGO world. That is really good to hear. From the government as well, the government world. So these are people who are engaged in national government, state government, as well as private sector and academia. All right. So Sonia, we are at 60 in terms of polls. I will work with your queue to be able to know when to be able to wrap up the poll. But we have quite a few in terms of how you got to hear about this. This also helps us to be able to know how best to effectively communicate to you. So we have APN and Empower social medias, and then the Empower and APN email. So this is very helpful so that we know how best and most effective way to reach out to you. Right. And so at this point, I want to be able to welcome Sonia, just very briefly to be able to give an overview of the work that we do together with Empower School of Health, myself being APN and Sonia and team being from the Empower School.
Thank you, Dr. Kelvin, and always being so supportive to make things easier for us as well. So I just give brief information and our experience with APN so far. This is the third and fourth, I think fourth or fifth webinar that we are organizing together, and many more to come. It depends upon the topic. So I would request all attendees to please put it on chat if they are specifically need any of the topic to be chosen for next webinar, and we will surely organize something on the most chosen topic. And also it's been 2 years, approximately 2 years, that we have collabed with APN and our reach in Kenya. So I'll just move forward, and it's a privilege to be a partner organization with APN, and we look forward for more engagement in near future. Now I'll just move on to next slide, and I'll give you a brief information about Empower School of Health, what we do, what is our core area, what is our expertise on. So this particular slide will give you an idea that Empower Group is a capacity building, workforce strengthening, and digital learning institute with working Africa and global. You can see the mission transforming the way people learn, work, and save, and we almost scale by training more than 250,000 professionals across 100 countries in 20 languages. And our vision on the right hand side, you can see in Africa, we are working with Africa CDC AU ministries. Our vision is to build an ecosystem of global manufacturers and trainers for pharmaceutical manufacturing. Globally, we are working with Ministry of Health, as I mentioned, and we have extensive skill set in pharmaceutical throughout our expert in regulatory quality, supply chain capacity building, etc. Since I just mentioned that we have partnered with APN, in the same way, we have partnered with different institute, associations, universities, and private sectors as well. So this slide will give you an idea of a reach in Africa, that we have partnered with different societies. In Kenya, we have partnered with APF, APN in the way of UNES, and many more. Over here, you can see our advisors. They have diverse and experienced group of advisors. We have Dr. John Ekofor, he's a mentor and visionary, former president of Ghana. Professor Paul Lalwani, he's a founder and executive director in Power Group, and many more. And as I mentioned, that we work with different government agencies, funder organization, universities. So this slide will give you an idea about government, academia, UN agencies, and INGOs that we work with. As I mentioned, that we always focus on capacity building of pharmacy professional, and specifically our core area is into global health procurement and supply chain management. So in that reference, we have recently launched one master course that is available in English and French. And in this course, we have two categories. One is 24-month course, which is applicable to all applicants, and 12-month master's course for those who have graduated from Empower School of Health and are having PGD degree from us. So the master will be 12 months, and there is a relaxation on fee as well. So if you would like to have more information about it, I would request you all to please visit our website. This slide will give you an idea about the fee structure, but this is the upfront fee. We have partial scholarship, which will reduce the fee. So 24-month master course, the initial fee is 8,000 USD. 12-month, this is 5,500 USD, and for 12-month PGD, the fee is 2,500 USD. So as I mentioned, that masters and PGD is available in two languages, English and French. In whatsoever language you're comfortable with, you can enroll yourself to that particular course. And PGD, the diploma course, is for 12-month course, and after this, completing this course, you can move on to master's 12-month course. In the same way, we have short courses as well, certificate courses. As you can see in this slide, that we have a certificate course in pharmaceutical waste management, quantification, and many more. So please visit the website. The link has been posted on the chat box. And in order to apply for partial scholarship for our courses, you can connect us on the email IDs mentioned over there, or you can visit the website directly. You can fill up your application form, and the relevant team will get connected with you. And now I would like to give floor back to Dr. Kelvin, and Dr. Kelvin, please say a few words and take it further. Thank you all.
Thank you very much, Sonia. With your permission, I'd like to thank you for even walking us through what Empower School of Health is. Our experience working with you has been quite seamless. And I must say, for members of the African Pharmaceutical Network, quite beneficial in upskilling. For those of us who might be already familiar with the work that APN does, we are very particular about being able to leverage and create an opportunity for members of the network, but the broader African continent, to upskill. And we find that our partnership with Empower really helps to be able to address that particular area of focus. I want to very quickly invite someone from the APN team, Dr. Esther Anyango, to just talk a little bit more about the partnership that we have with the Empower School of Health. So just 2-3 minutes, and then we can introduce our speaker.
Hi, Kelvin. Hi, everybody. I hope you can hear me all loud and clear.
Yes, we can.
As already mentioned, sorry, I can't put on my video because post settings, but I'll just quickly go through, some of the advantages for everybody who's listening in. If you're not a member of Africa Pharmaceutical Network, or if you've just heard about it, maybe my 1 minute will make you want to join. So as has already been mentioned, it's a privilege for us to partner with Empower. And some of the advantages of being a member is that, of the various courses that are offered by Empower, if you become a member, of Africa Pharmaceutical Network, then we would generally award a few scholarships. So the amount that you would pay to undertake some courses that are listed or that are offered by Empower, then you do it at a cheaper price. So those are some of the advantages that I think you could benefit. And of course, and there's so many other advantages, and it's just because of constraints of time that I'm not able to get into detail. But for this particular instance, then I think we would really, like all of you guys to join and be members, because by joining, you'll be able not only to undertake the course at a at a cheaper rate, at a cheaper price, at a discounted price. But it's also going to be a platform for you to meet like-minded individuals and network for the benefit of strengthening the pharmaceutical ecosystem in the continent. So I'll just pause here for now, but hopefully that you guys can go visit our website and make further inquiries about how to become a member of Africa Pharmaceutical Network, even as we continue with the partnership we have with Empower, and hopefully even expand beyond Empower, beyond and with other organizations in the continent. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Esther. And just very quickly in way of introduction, as I welcome our speaker, why do we exist as African Pharmaceutical Network, right? We exist to strengthen pharmaceutical systems for a healthy and prosperous Africa. And how we do this, and also informing our partnership with Empower, is through policy shaping, through knowledge sharing and capacity building, and also nurturing innovations and partnerships that would be able to feed into this overall goal. Who can join? So we work with individuals as well as professional bodies. I've seen some communication in the chat. So pharmacy professionals, stakeholders, and organizations who are working in the African pharmaceutical sector in the areas that we have highlighted. And one of those would be Empower School of Health, that we found very helpful, especially in the supply chain, global health, and supply chain masters and postgraduate diplomas. As Esther has mentioned, you would then be able to, as a member of APN, benefit from the courses offered by Empower through a subsidized rate if you come in through a referral by APN. So very quickly about our speaker today, just to delve into the matter for the day. So Dr. Sarah Vugigi is a senior lecturer at Kabarak University, School of Pharmacy in Kenya. She's an industrial pharmacist with 25 years of experience in pharmaceutical manufacturing. She started her career journey as a pharmaceutical analyst at Drug Analysis Research Unit, that's DARU, Ministry of Health, Kenya, a unit whose core mandate was to ensure quality of pharmaceutical products in Kenya. She is the technical committee of Kenya Federation of Pharmaceutical Manufacturers for 10 years and represents the Federation of various fora. She has authored several manuscripts and reports on local production of pharmaceutical products in Kenya, including the Kenya Pharmaceutical Investments Profile 2020, that was designed and produced under the framework of the Partnership for Investment and Growth in Africa, that's PIGA project. Ladies and gentlemen, that is our speaker for today. We are very privileged, Dr. Sarah, to have you join us. We cannot thank you enough for sparing your time to even be able to walk us through and share nuggets of wisdom based on your vast knowledge and experience. So with that, I'm going to start sharing my screen, and Dr. Sarah, please take it away. Sonia, let me know when my screen is visible, please. I'm just going to put it on slideshow.
Yeah, it is visible.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
My presentation is on pharmaceutical manufacturing in Africa. I will be doing a brief situational analysis. I will look at the general facts about Africa. Then I will look at the genesis of local industry in Africa and levels of pharmaceutical manufacturing. And lastly, I will look at the impact of policy on pharma and how the manufacturing plan of Africa is providing solutions for the challenges that we have. First slide, please. Basic facts about Africa. We know that Africa is the second largest continent in both area and population, and it hosts about 17% of the global population. It has 55 sovereign countries divided in 5 blocks: North, South, East, West, and Central. The population is estimated now at 1.4 billion, and it is expected to double by 2025. And Africa lies mostly within the tropical region, and the climate is equatorial, tropical, semi-desert, and Mediterranean. So this basically a general fact about Africa that are very necessary for us to know as we dive into this. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. This slide here one slide back.
One slide back. There?
No. Second slide. Yes, that. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes. This slide basically shows the leading causes of death in the world in 2019. This slide is important because it speaks to the manufacturers and what they need to focus in. So we can see that the first 7 diseases are actually to do with non-communicable diseases, meaning that at this time, if you are going to participate in local production, then your focus should actually be on products that are intended for non-communicable diseases. Next, please. Okay, this slide here generally shows us the market size for Africa. At the moment, 2023, the market size is about $30 billion US. South Africa is the biggest, the one that has the largest share, followed by Egypt, Algeria, and Morocco. It's very interesting to note that the generic market is also just as huge because it is at 6.5 billion. So we have a lot of opportunity if you are to invest in Africa. Next, please. Genesis of local production. Just good to understand what local production is. Basically, local production of pharmaceutical products is production by firms located in a country specifically to meet the demands in that country, but not necessarily entailing nationality of that country. This is the definition from WHO. So basically, when you're talking about local manufacturing, you're talking about manufacturing taking place in that particular country, regardless of the nationality. It could be by foreigners or by indigenous people from that particular country. Next, please. So local production has been in Africa for quite a while. In Northern Africa, in 1897, it was already happening in Senegal. In Morocco, it was already happening in 1933. In Egypt, it was happening in 1896. So local production has been there for quite a while. But in sub-Saharan region, local production is linked to the colonists. So when they landed in Africa, then the subsidiaries of those companies, wherever they were, started to operate in the colonies. So you find like in South Africa, Abbott was established in 1935. Nigeria, May and Baker was established in 1944. In Kenya, quite a number of companies established, like Blackstone, 1930, Sterling Winthrop, 1953. And the interesting thing to note is that there was increase in investment in local production after independence. And this basically was fueled by change of policy, which moved towards import substitution policies, therefore encouraging locals to be able to invest in local manufacturing. Next, please. So these are basic facts about pharmaceutical manufacturing in Africa. We find that Africa produces only 3% of global pharmaceuticals, and production takes place in about 38 countries. And we have about 650 pharmaceutical manufacturers in Africa. Some of us who have been reading, maybe you will see a less number in other references, but those references do not refer to Northern Africa. So this 650 includes the manufacturers in Northern Africa. And availability of essential medicines in Africa is less than 40%. About 75% of pharmaceuticals are imported. It's also important to note that even in this manufacturing, APIs are imported also, excipients are also imported, packaging materials, especially primary packaging materials, are also imported. So most of the materials that we're using in production in Africa are imported, apart from South Africa, which is doing very well by having most of these materials produced by their own country. So in Africa, only Ghana, Kenya, Nigeria, and South Africa have a sizable pharmaceutical industry, while the other countries have the industry, but very, very small. Next, please. This table here just summarizes the distribution of manufacturers in Africa. So we said that we have 5 regions. You find that in the western side, it has 15 countries. In these 15 countries, we have 213 manufacturers. And what we note is that out of these 213, 150 are in Nigeria and 30 in Ghana. So it means that the rest have either 1 or 2. When you look at Eastern, we have 65 manufacturers, 35 of them being in one country. The same thing in Southern Africa. This one is of interest. 139 companies and 122 are in one country. And looking at this, you can be able to see that out of the 689 companies that we have in Africa, more than 90% are located in 9 countries. So that is a very good observation to make. The concentration of these companies are in very, very few countries. Next, please. And this slide here just shows the distribution of imports and exports, imports and products that are locally produced. So like we said, Africa, for most countries, whatever that is used is imported. You can see that like Mali, this slide was done a while back, but the locally produced is actually at 0. You have Malawi, 10%, Kenya, 30%. The only country that is doing very well, like I said, is South Africa, which is at 80%. And this is because they have very good technology, they have manpower, and they can be able to synthesize some of the APIs so they can be able to manufacture the products that are required for the country. Next, please. So let's look at the level of manufacturing in Africa. Manufacturing is at 5 levels. You have the first level, which basically these are importers. Second level are the manufacturers that would only pack the product. And then the level 3 are those that produce the formulation and also pack. Level 4 are the ones that are manufacturing the API, the active pharmaceutical ingredient. They manufacture the finished product and they also pack. And then we have level 5, which does research and development, primary manufacturing of the API, secondary manufacturing of the formulation, and it also packs. In Africa, most of the countries are at level 2 and level 3, meaning that most of the facilities do not manufacture API, most do not do research and development. So what they do is to formulate the excipients into the finished product, and they also pack the finished product into the respective packaging material. Innovator companies carry out clinical trials on the continent because that is a regulatory requirement. Next, please. Next. This slide shows the range of products that are produced in Africa. And most of these products are based on the essential medicines list because these are the medicines that are required and that are essential. So you find that in regard to dosage forms, solid dosage forms, semi-solid dosage forms, and liquids are the ones that are mainly manufactured. And when you get to the types, we have tablets, we have capsules, we have topical applications, we have parenteral products. It's also important to note that not many of the manufacturers produce sterile products. And this is due to the stringent environment that is required, which you have to manufacture these products in large quantities to be able to do good business. So some of the products that are manufactured are antibiotics, antivirals, antifungals, antihistamines. And one of the things that we should note is that products that are used for non-communicable diseases or critical life-saving drugs are not manufactured in Africa. Most of them are not, but we have a few countries that are venturing into this. Next, please. Yes, so South Africa is one of those countries that has ventured into that, and it is the largest, it has the largest pharmaceutical market for ARVs in Africa. And this is because it has the requisite technology to manufacture the pharmaceuticals. It's also good to note that it still has the presence of multinationals there. Cipla is there, Pfizer is there, just to name a few. And in fact, they are setting up an MR site to produce COVID vaccine for the whole region. South Africa also produces pharmaceutical excipients. So if South Africa can do it, then the other countries can be able to learn from it and do likewise. Next, please. Yes, this slide here shows attempts by other countries also to follow suit. A number of manufacturers in Northern Africa, Kenya, Nigeria, Uganda, Ghana, are investing in technology and new products. And this is demonstrated by this sketch that I have here. This is research that was done in 2020 in Kenya. And 63 of the products that were under development in 2019 were for the management of non-communicable diseases. And this was a very good observation because what it shows is that the Kenyans are reading into the change of what is required, moving from communicable to non-communicable, and also being able to invest in what is required, because as you move from communicable to non-communicable, then it means that sometimes the technology aspect of it has to be considered. So you can see that other countries are also trying to be able to develop products to be able to meet the need that there is in these countries. Next, please. Impact of policies on pharma industry. I wanted to make a reference to this because it's very good to understand how policies inform decisions or inform how industries behave. So after independence in Kenya, Kenya pursued policies that favored substitution of imports to promote domestic industrialization. And this was done through tariff and non-tariff barriers. And because of this, local manufacturers were shielded from imported products. A way that India had used when they got independence. So the local industry thrived in the 1970s and 80s, but later things changed. I will explain this with the next slide. If you look at this slide, from 1975 to 1985, this is when the substitution was happening. You find that the local industry moved from 4 to 17, which is a huge jump. But when you look at 85, when the policies changed, 85 to 95, you have 5. If you look at 1995 to 2014, you have a movement from 22 to 29. That is a difference of 7 in 20 years. So you can be able to see that the import substitution had a positive impact in Kenya in making sure that investment was being inserted, was being put back in local manufacturing. That is just one example. Let's move to the next slide. Yes, so we start on why local production. What is the essence of local production? Why can't we import? So local production is pegged on the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, which are to be achieved by 2030. Basically, when you look at Goal 8 and Goal 9 and Goal 3, they all speak to developing a more competitive manufacturing industry. And so Africa is not an exception. So because of this, the fact that these goals are driving towards access to essential medicines, and this access should be by manufacturers producing quality products that can then be used by the populace. So the local manufacturing industry then becomes a conduit for meeting the access, for having access to these medicines that are required, because medicine is a human right. So to be able to get this human right, then it is expected that local manufacturers produce these products so that the medicine can be, the people can be able to have access to this medicine. And this is clearly elaborated by this quote from Michel Sedib, director of NAIDS. So the local industry is expected to produce products that are affordable and quality assured. That is what is expected. Next, please. So this slide here basically shows what is expected by the local manufacturers to be able to put these products on the market. So the development goals expect the local manufacturers to be able to supply products that are affordable, products that are quality, and these products should be in sufficient amount. And the product that is produced has to be to meet the monograph specifications It has to be manufactured in a GMP-approved facility. It has to be competitive, and it has to be sufficient. So for the manufacturers to be able to do this, then they need competent staff, they need the technology, they also need a facility that is qualified by the basic qualification, which would be from the National Regulatory Authority. So here we are. The local manufacturing industry is expected to produce these products. But the thing is that the products that are accepted are those products that are affordable, they are quality, and they have to be sufficient. And there are requirements to that. Next, please. So looking at the quality of medicines in Africa, you find that in many of these countries that are manufacturing, the more than 600 manufacturers that we talked about, most of them are certified by the national drug regulatory authorities. Others have achieved international GMP standards. Some are in the process of upgrading, and some aspire, but they cannot because they don't have the expertise or the resources that are required, while others have international certification from other bodies such as the PICS. So what we see is that, yes, we have a standard, but this standard is varied based on the manufacturer. Next, please. So with that background, then we can actually look or see the challenges that the manufacturers in Africa would have. So the first challenge then is access to affordable financing. For you to be able to construct a factory, you need money. So, and industry is considered as a risk industry. So because of that, sometimes it's not easy to get finances. The other challenge is technology and know-how, inadequate human resource capacity, competition from imports. All these are challenges. And then we have small fragmented markets. Then it means that you have barriers to be able to get from one market to another. We have weak regulatory systems. And the cost of GMP compliance also high. And then fragmented poor supply chain systems. We saw this during COVID, poor business linkages, collaborations, and also low investment in research and development. Unless you invest in research and development, you cannot be able to put new products on the market. Next, please. So the manufacturing plan of Africa is a strategy that African leaders have come up with to help the local manufacturers go or deal with the challenges that they have. So all the majority of the African leaders came together, and based on the fact that they have to meet the need of these medicines for their populace, they had to look at what's the best way for us to be able to help our people. And they came up with this plan that can be implemented so that access to essential medicines is achieved. So some regions in Africa have also developed plans based on this manufacturing plan for Africa. One that I can confidently talk about is the East African one, which is underway, and it is basically pegged on the PMPA, and they have 4 targets. So one of the targets is that they want to reverse the dependency of pharma imports from 90, 80 to less than 50 by 2027. They also want to support expansion of the products in the East African community. And they are proposing that 50% of purchases by East African national procurement agencies be sourced from East Africa community manufacturers. This, I can say that it's happening right now so that the local manufacturing industry has places where they can be able to sell the products. They have markets to sell the products that they are producing. Next, please. So just to help the Africans in achieving these goals, you need the WHO and UN have come in to help the implementation. So UNIDO has been funding, using Germany government to be able to help or to support local manufacturing in Africa. They've had projects in Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, Ghana, Uganda, and many more. So basically, what they're doing is to help these countries to be able to upgrade their manufacturing standards. And as they do this, then the countries will be getting products that are quality so that the populace can be able to get sufficient amount of products that are quality. So what UNIDO has done, they've done this in this many countries, is like they start by preparing a country profile. A country profile just contains a situational analysis of the country in regard to pharmaceuticals. And then after they have done that, they come up with a strategy on how to be able to address the central needs and the concerns that they identify in the literature that they have looked at. So in Kenya and these other countries, they have done this just to help the industry so that they can be able to achieve quality products. Next, please. So when they did this in Kenya, they came up with a 7-point strategy on how to develop the local manufacturing industry. And they have done this for the other many countries that they have helped come up with the profiles. So basically, the first thing that they did after the analysis was that the first strategy is to set out a roadmap for the industry to achieve GMP standards, and that they have done. The second strategy is strengthening mechanism for quality assurance, and then strengthening regulatory capacity, assessing necessary financing, and devising limited incentives for industry. And number 7, developing common support services for the local industry. So I will just go through the first one, how they have done this and how this is very, very useful for us, for the industry, just setting a roadmap for the industry to achieve GMP. And this they have done in these other countries that I talked about. So let's just go to the next slide so that we can be able to have a look at that. So basically, during this, what they did was that all the industries in the country are inspected, and then after the inspection, the industry, the companies are categorized depending on their level of compliance. And why do they do this? They do this because the companies are at different levels. And the thing is that because the companies are at different levels, the challenge has always been that a company that has a national GMP and one that is pre-qualified, they go to the same market. And it means that the person who has a lower GMP compliance, their product may sell because GMP is expensive. So you end up having products of a person who has invested so much money in their product not selling, but a person who has not invested selling. And so that's why this categorization comes in. Next, please. So when this was done in one country, this was the categorization into 4 groups: new starters, least developed, developing GMP, and those that are developed, the ones who are even selling to multinationals. So when this is done, then the people or the pharmaceutical companies, for example, who are new starters, it means that yes, they will be allowed to sell their products, but specific products that they can be able to do. So a risk analysis has to be done to determine category A, who will buy this, what products will be sold from category A. Category 4, which products will be produced here. So if you are in category 4, which means that you are very developed, your certificate to sell tells you that because of this, then this is the list of products that you should be able to prepare. So that is the categorization that UNIDO and the partners who are proposing for the local industry to have. That is not approved yet. Next, please. So Ethiopia did the same thing. They have done the inspections, they have classified their facility into 4, and these are the results that they have. And the expectation is that after the period that they have, then everybody should have achieved the WHO GMP status. So Ethiopia followed that process of categorizing so that you are not putting everybody at the same level, but as you do that, you make sure that the person who is at a lower level is given the, they're not being given the very complicated products to do. So yes, Ethiopia has done that. Next, please. This, I just wanted to illustrate how GMP, the roadmap, is important. For this particular manufacturer here, this manufacturer was WHO pre-qualified in 2011. And what happened is that when they were pre-qualified, the sales to the local market just decreased because of the pre-qualification, because of the input that they had put in the facility. It meant that that input is going into the price of product. So it means that their product could not compete because they were competing on the same market with other people who have not done pre-qualification. And you can see that the cancer product actually decreased after the pre-qualification, which is something that the policymaker should be able to note so that they can be able to see how to compensate for the person who has undergone, who his facility has been pre-qualified. Next, please. Next, please. So just to speak on vaccines, just to let you know that Africa currently is producing less than 1%, but the COVID pandemic has shown Africa that they need to do something about that. So most notably, the African Union has set the target of working on this by 2040. And at the moment, 4 countries in Africa, Egypt, Senegal, South Africa, Tunisia, they have facilities that do vaccines. And there are others like Algeria, Ethiopia, Kenya, Uganda, and Nigeria. These ones are purposing to start manufacturing, and they are in the process of looking at a memorandum of understanding and collaboration with manufacturers so that they can be able to move into vaccine production. Next, please. Yes, so these are the opportunities that anyone who would want to invest in Africa look at. The thing is that Africa still relies on imports. There is increase in population, prevalence of pandemics. There is, at the moment, all governments in Africa are implementing policies to boost local production. And then, of course, there is opportunities for technology partnership, which is available, and also the ratification of the Africa Free Trade Treaty by all countries. When this goes through, the countries will have access to more than 2 billion people, and this is a huge market. So all this it's a good indication that there is still hope for Africa. If you want to invest in, there is still opportunity. Next, please. So these are the key enablers. These are the key enablers. These are the areas to look at. These are the areas that will help the local industry to thrive. The first one is government support. For you as a manufacturer to be able to do well, you must have government support. You must have political support because the policies have to be passed. The regulations have to be passed, and sometimes these require a political will. So that has to come in. Also investment. You have to look for means of getting cheap money that can be able to be used. Regulations, that is also important. Pricing, that one, the companies have to see how to reduce cost production. The other area that is to be looked at is know-how and technology transfer. We have to leverage on this so that we have partnerships that can be able to help us to develop those products that we do not do. Next, please. This here just illustrates how Africa is actually doing some of this. We have technology transfer that is ongoing in Africa. We have Boehringer and Aspen coming together in South Africa, Glaxo Welcome, Roche, and all this. So the other companies in Africa that are actually already doing this technology transfer so that Africa can be able to produce these products that they wouldn't do on their own. Next, please. Yes, this one also just shows that Africa is in partnership with other countries to be able to continue manufacturing products that they can't be able to do. So technology transfer is key, and it's being used in Africa. One good example is the one that is being done through mergers. For example, there is the merger of a company in Kenya with Stride Institution so that they can be able to manufacture some of the products that they don't. We have Cipla in Uganda and many more. So this is going on in Africa. And also for biologics, it is important. And next, please. API production, just to mention this, a few countries engaged in that. We have Egypt, Ghana, Nigeria, South Africa. So just a few countries that are engaged in this. But basically, it's because of the technology that is involved, and more so the market. Because you find that in India and China, when they're doing this, they do this in bulk so that the product is not as expensive as if you did it in small quantity. Next, please. Yes, so in conclusion, there's opportunity to manufacture pharmaceuticals in Africa. The challenges in pharmaceuticals are known. The development strategies are well stipulated. So what is required is just the implementation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Vugigi, for that very insightful, elaborate presentation. I have a few follow-up questions. It's always a delight to be able to sit and be able to learn from you. I have a few questions in the chat that I wanted for you to be able to respond to. So the first question is, what's the greatest rate limiting step, would you say, towards the progress that we're seeking? E.g., is it tech transfer? Is it investments? And what have you? And then just to tie it together with, can you please share some of the non-tariff policies implemented in Kenya to boost local production? Dr. Sarah?
Okay, sorry about that.
It's all right.
Yes, in regard to the first one, both of them are important because for you to be able to manufacture, for you to be able to get to the standard that you need money and you need technology. So it's both ways. So what is normally encouraged is to look at both of them individually so that you can be able to look at what are the ways that technology I can be able to get technology. What are the ways I can be able to get finances? But at a personal level, finances are easier because there isn't much risk to it. If I'm doing my risk analysis, I would say that it's harder for technology than finances. Finances you can always get. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Vugigi. There's someone who's requesting for contacts to be able to get through to you. Would LinkedIn be appropriate? Maybe you can give us direction on what would be the most appropriate way to be able to get in touch.
Yes, LinkedIn, please.
LinkedIn. So on LinkedIn, Dr. Sarah Vugigi.
Yes.
Right. So I hope Buki Telufusi, you've gotten that information. In the interest of time, so I still see a few more questions here. Maybe I'll just take one more. Yeah. And this speaks to, do you have any insights into the challenges associated with the country's national quality infrastructure when it comes to local pharmaceutical production?
What I would say is that, a good question. When it comes to challenges with quality, the first one that I think of right away is that, like right now, we are supposed to be doing bioequivalence for class 2 and class 4 molecules. We do not have the facility to do that unless you go to South Africa or to India. So, and then when you do that and you factor that into your product, it becomes very expensive. And so for this high-risk molecules, it becomes a challenge. So the infrastructure is important.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Sarah. Kenneth, you asked a question around just a clarification on the presentation. So you saw that there was no one from the presentation that there was no manufacturing facility in the whole of Central Africa sub-region. And Cameroon happens to be a country in this sub-region. And he believes there are 3 manufacturing plants in Cameroon. So just a clarification from Kenneth Ako Eyong.
Okay, sorry about that omission. And like I would say that my presentation is not cast on stone. The reference that I used was 2022. And what this reference mentioned was that Central Africa is a war zone area. So most probably that's why. But like I said, yes, I can be able, it's okay. It's my presentation is not cast on stone. It's a general finding.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Vugigi, for that clarification. A lot of questions are being to be able to connect with you, so I hope you would be able to do that. And also appreciating that you've taken time to be able to walk us through the presentation, very insightful, and we are very grateful. I want to welcome Sonia so that we can quickly launch the second poll.
Yes, Dr. Kelvin, this is time to launch second poll 2. And after that, we will be posting link to download the certificate for this webinar. The webinar certificate will be sent to you all post-webinar within 24 to 48 hours. It will be sent directly to your registered email ID, which is registered with Zoom. So I would request backend team to please launch poll 2. Over to you, Dr. Kelvin.
Thank you very much, Sonia. So the poll is up, and this is really to be for us to also be able to tell how useful the information has been. So please feel free to participate. I hope you can see the poll on your end. Thank you. I see your responses have started coming through. So thank you very much. I see your responses are coming through. So questions around, did you find this session helpful? Are you interested in exploring supply chain courses? And these are offered by Empower in partnership with APN. Which trainings are you interested in? So this is also to help us know what best to also work towards offering to you. Which types of courses or trainings are you interested in? Whether it's an online certificate or diploma, career opportunities in supply chain. It really helps us to curate also future topics that would be aligned with your needs and be able to see how we create a platform that empowers you and also enriches your specific needs. So thank you. Keep your responses coming. I'll just allow it for another maybe minute, and then we can wrap up. Thank you. So we are at 81. Yes, 81 of us have already participated in the poll. So maybe just a few more seconds. But thank you. We are very delighted to hear that this session was actually very helpful. All 82 of us indicate that this was very helpful. And Dr. Vugigi, that also is gratitude to you for even making time to walk us through this. Very many people interested in supply chain courses. So I hope that you would be able to reach out to Empower and be able to reach out to African Pharmaceutical Network and also claim your discounts by way of referral from APN. I had shared our information in the chat if you wish to get in touch with us. So that is through either by emailing us at or by connecting with us on LinkedIn. I'm just going to paste that again and just then hand over very quickly to Sonia to be able to share with us the link for the downloading the certificate. It's actually already in the chat. So everyone who's participated in this webinar would be able to claim and auto-generate their participation certificate. So please feel free to type on the link in the chat and you'd be able to claim your certificate. Those of us, as many as have responded, 76 of us are interested in supply chain courses. Empower offers very robust postgraduate diploma, but also masters in global health supply chain. Feel free to be able to engage with us and so that we make that dream also a possibility. With that, as I wrap up and hand over to Sonia to close, mine is to thank you for being a very active audience, for Dr. Vugigi for giving us of your time, your wisdom, your wealth of experience and knowledge. Clearly the audience appreciates it. And we look forward to engaging you in many future conversations around capacity building and policy shaping and how we can unpack the challenges that are unique to Africa, how we can borrow some of the best practices across the globe to really advance not just a local context in Kenya, but also beyond. As you can see, our audience has been quite fast. So thank you very much, Dr. Sarah Vugigi. Thank you to Empower School of Health for always being a very supportive partner in the agenda of advancing capacity building, and also every time that we've reached out to you in conversations around policy shaping, you have been very, very instrumental. So we thank you. And with that, Sonia, I want to hand over to you to wrap it up.
Thank you, Dr. Kelvin, for your words and your appreciation. And a special thanks to Dr. Sarah for her knowledge sharing in today's webinar. I can see the people are more engaged throughout her presentation and they keep asking the questions. So well said. We will engage Dr. Sarah, and obviously Dr. Sarah, we will trouble you for upcoming webinars, and we will look forward for your presence. So we have more time to have your knowledge and it will be shared with attendees in upcoming webinars. So that's all from my end. The link has been posted on the chat box. The video links will be posted on the YouTube channel, and the post mailers will be received by you all.